All right, thank you guys. Welcome to NFL Picks for Week 10 on Brock Page Productions. Of course, I'm Brock Page. You guys already know that. And of course, this is part 1 of our Week 10 picks. My part 2 video will be released later in the week with the rest of the NFL Week 10 slate. But with all that said and done, I really appreciate you joining me here today. So let's go ahead and begin. And we're going to start with the Colts taking on the Titans, 8:20 p.m. Eastern kickoff in Tennessee, and that is going to be Thursday night football. Now, the Titans are -3 at home, totals 48.5. We're 3-0 in our last 3 extra daily picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to unlock today's extra daily pick on patreon.com/BrockPage, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. We're also 6-2 in our last 8 daily best plays on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to unlock the daily best play, that's only going to cost you just $1.99. We currently have over 675 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And when it comes to this Colts-Titans game here, Indianapolis is plus $1.15 for an outright win. Now, the Colts have won 2 out of their last 3. 72 total points they scored in those victories. Indy's averaging 26 points a game on the road, and they rank in the top 10 in offensive time of possession when traveling. Phillip Rivers is completing nearly 70% of his passes this season, and he's thrown for nearly 1,200 yards. He currently has 5 different skill players with over 200 yards receiving. Phillip's doing a really nice job spreading the ball around. You know, really, if you think about it, kind of tough to game plan for a guy who'll just throw it to anybody, or throw it to the hot dog vendor in the front row. But anyway, the Colts are also rushing for over 100 yards a game. 8 total rushing touchdowns for Indianapolis. But really, when it comes to this Indy ball club, the real story's been this stifling defense. Top 3 in fewest points allowed, top 3 in fewest yards allowed per play. The Colts currently have 20 sacks on the season and 11 interceptions. Now Moore, Carey, Rhodes, and Blackman each have a pair of interceptions out of this Colts secondary. Edge rusher Danico Autry has 5 sacks along with 6 tackles for loss, and linebacker Darius Leonard currently leads this Indy defense with 51 total tackles, along with a sack and 5 tackles for loss. Now the Colts are in the top 3 in the league in fewest pass yards allowed per contest. They're also in the top 3 in fewest rush yards allowed per contest as well. So these guys have been excellent on defense and pretty good on offense too. Good enough. Now, Indy's also won 7 out of their last 8 ball games at Nissan Stadium, so doing very well at Tennessee. Now, keep an eye on T.Y. Hilton and Jack Doyle. Both offensive skill players are listed as questionable for tomorrow night. Meanwhile, for the Titans, Kelly, Clowney, Humphreys, Milton, and Davis may not play for the Titans. And speaking of the Titans, they've really struggled to cover the point spread this season. They failed to cover the number in 2 out of their last 3 ball games. The Tennessee defense is also allowing over 270 yards a game through the air and nearly $120 a game on the ground. Now, the Titans have successfully covered the number in just 3 out of their 8 contests this season. So like I just said earlier, these guys really not doing a great job against the point spread this year. If you've been backing them a lot, they certainly have not been cashing for you. They do currently rank in the top 10 in the league in most pass yards allowed at home. That's certainly not a good statistic, a good stat that you want to rank in the top 10 for. Now, total-wise, 6 out of Tennessee's last 7 outings got over the posted number. They're also 4-1 to the over at Nissan Stadium this season. Meanwhile, the Colts on the other side saw 3 out of their last 4 ball games get over the line themselves. Indy's actually officially 3-1 to the over when they travel. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward an underdog to start the show off. Give me the underdog Colts +3 and the over 48.5 in that game. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to the video. Got some lines and personal leans out for NFL Week 10. You know, they used to say about a year or two ago that all I did was pick favorites, man. I've been picking a lot of dogs this year with regard to NFL and college. But anyway, got some lines of personal leans out for NFL Week 10. But before we dive into some more free content here on YouTube, just got to quickly remind you once again that we are 3-0 in our last 3 extra daily picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to unlock today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you $2.99. We're also 6-2 in our last 8 daily best plays on that site as well. And if you want to unlock today's daily best play, that's only going to cost you $1.99. Now, we currently have over 675 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And moving on, we're going to take a look at Texans, Browns, 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff this Sunday. The Browns are -3 at home, totals 50 and a hook. The Texans are plus $1.50 for an upset win on the road. Now, Houston's failed to cover the point spread in their last 3 straight. They're a league worst 1-7 against the spread overall for the season. Now, this Houston offense ranks in the bottom 3 in the league in rushing. They're also in the bottom 5 in fourth quarter scoring on the road. I know that's kind of a quirky, particular trend there, but just keep that in mind if you're doing some in-game betting. Once again, bottom 5 in fourth quarter scoring on the road. Now, running back David Johnson is averaging just 51 yards a game on the ground. The Texans as a team are gaining only 87 yards a game on the ground as well. Meanwhile, defensively, these guys have been pretty putrid on their side of the ball, not getting the job done. Top 5 in the league in most points allowed. Top 3 in most rush yards allowed per game as well. This Houston D gives up nearly 33 points a game when they travel and almost 180 yards a game on the ground away from home. Now, Merciless, Roby, Cole, and Colombi are all questionable for Sunday. Meanwhile, Phillips and Teller are questionable for the Browns. Hooper, Garrett, and Chubb have all been upgraded to probable for Cleveland. So that is great news for Browns fans and fantasy fans alike. Once again, Hooper, Garrett, and Chubb upgraded to probable, so we should end up seeing those guys this Sunday. Now, Cleveland's played pretty well at home this season. 3-1 straight up in their games in Cleveland. The Browns are also averaging 27 points a game on their home field, and they rank at the top 5 in home rushing. Now, Kareem Hunt's touched it 115 times for 529 and 3 scores. Pretty good numbers through 8 games. And keep in mind, Hunt's been kind of in a specialized role this season. He hasn't been the number one. He hasn't been RB number 1 in the first half of the season. The only reason why he's getting so many touches is because Chubb has been out for, the last 4 weeks or so. But anyway, Hunt's averaging nearly 5 yards a carry. And speaking of the devil, Nick Chubb, who's missed, 4 games this season, he scored 4 times on the ground and is rushing for nearly 6 yards a carry. So in his limited action, certainly productive out of him. And as bad as this Cleveland defense has looked this season in certain spots, they do rank in the top 3 in fewest yards allowed per play at home. The Browns have 20 sacks on the year along with 14 takeaways. B.J. Goodson has a pair of interceptions from that linebacker spot, 58 total tackles and 3 PBUs. Myles Garrett has 9 total sacks on the season himself, 9 TFLs, 25 total tackles, and 2 forced fumbles for Garrett. So they're going to certainly look forward to having him back this Sunday. Now, the Cleveland Browns rank in the top 10 in fewest pass yards allowed at home, 7-2 straight up in their last 9 at First Energy Stadium. Now, total-wise, 5 out of Cleveland's last 7 ball games got over the posted number, 3-1 to the over at home. Meanwhile, the Texans saw 2 out of their last 3 get over the line themselves. They're 4-0 to the over when they travel. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Cleveland Browns -3 and the over 50.5 in that contest. All right, next matchup, it is going to be Buccaneers-Panthers, 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff in Charlotte. The Tampa Bay Bucs are the 5.5-point favorite on the road, totals 50 and a hook. And if you like the Panthers to win this one outright, they're plus $1.90 on the money line. Now, Carolina's been pretty bad against the number at home. Just 1-3 against the spread at Bank of America Stadium. And as a matter of fact, The Panthers are just 1-3 straight up in those home games as well. So these guys not doing all that great for their backers and not all that great for their fans, on their home field. Now this Panther offense is in the bottom 10 in scoring on average per contest, bottom 5 in fourth quarter scoring per game. Once again, a quirky stat there, but keep that in mind if you're in-game betting. They're in the bottom 5 in fourth quarter scoring per game. And as amazing as Robbie Anderson's been all season long, this poor guy's got just one touchdown reception all year. Now, the Panthers have been victorious in just 3 out of their 9 contests on the season, and they also lost 7 out of their last 8 home games, of course, dating back to last season. Now, Okung, Weatherly, Thomas, Daly, and Chin are questionable. Christian McCaffrey is out. They're taking on a Buccaneers team who won 3 out of their last 4 themselves, despite a miserable performance on Sunday Night Football. In addition to going 6-3 straight up on the year, the Bucs have won 3 out of their 5 road games as well. Tampa's in the top 3 in fewest yards allowed per contest, top 3 in fewest rush yards allowed per game. The Buccaneers have 29 total sacks through 9 games, over 3.2 sacks per contest they're averaging. This Buccaneer defense also has 16 takeaways, mostly thanks to 11 interceptions. Certainly a great defense in many spots this season. Now, cornerback Carlton Davis has 4 interceptions on the season, 13 PBUs, and 40 tackles. If I'm not mistaken, I think he has the league lead in pass breakups, passes defended. But anyway, JPP, he's got 6.5 sacks on the season, 3 forced fumbles, 7.5 TFLs, and linebacker Devin White, 82 total tackles, along with 5 sacks and 9.5 TFLs. This Bucs D also ranks in the top 10 in fewest road points allowed, top 3 in rush defense on the road as well. Now, offensively, I didn't talk about the offense, but these guys have been pretty efficient on the road. 28 points a game when they travel, 275 yards a game through the air. Tom Brady's just 2 yards shy of 2,400 yards passing for the season. Brady's also thrown 20 touchdowns through 9 games. Mike Evans has 34 catches for 437 yards and 7 touchdowns. Meanwhile, wideout Scotty Miller, not a household name there, but he has 26 grabs for 410 yards and a couple of scores himself. Scotty's actually averaging 16 yards per reception. Now, total-wise, 2 out of the Bucs' last 3 games got over the posted number. They're also 60% to the over when they travel. Meanwhile, 2 out of the Panthers' last 3 outings got over the line themselves. Give me the Tampa Bay Bucs minus 5.5 and the over 50 and a hook in that contest. All right, next ball game, Eagles-Giants, 1 p.m. East. The Eagles are the 4-point favorite. Total's 44.5. The Giants are plus $1.60 for an upset win. Now, the G-Men are coming fresh off a 3-point victory over Washington. They also successfully covered the point spread in their last 3 straight ball games. These guys have been pretty good against the number this season. Now, this Giants defense ranks in the top 10 in fewest yards allowed per contest at home. Leonard Williams has 5 sacks on the season for New York, 32 total tackles, and 8 TFLs. Cornerback James Bradbury leads this secondary with 3 picks along with 12 PBUs and a fumble recovery. And Blake Martinez continues to rack up the tackles, 92 total tackles for Blake on the year, 2 sacks and 6.5 tackles for loss. Martinez also has 3 pass breakups, an interception, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. This guy's having himself a year, and the G-Men aren't technically out of it in that NFC East. Now, the G-Men do rank in the top 10 in rush defense at home, top 5 in fewest first quarter points allowed at home as well. Now, Tate, Freeman, and Pettis are all questionable for New York. Keep an eye on them. Meanwhile, the Eagles on the other side, always banged up. Jeffrey, Jackson, Slay, Johnson, LeBlanc, James, Sanders, and Driscoll, they're all questionable for the Eagles here. And speaking of the Birds, they failed to cover the point spread in 2 out of their last 3 on the road, just 1-2 straight up in those ball games as well. And out of their 8 total games on the season, this Philly team has successfully covered the number in just 3 of those contests. They rank in the bottom 5 in yards per play, bottom 10 in passing. Now, Carson Wentz, he's completing just 58% of his passes, a dozen interceptions in 8 games already, and he's also been sacked a staggering 32 times. This Eagles patchwork O-line has given up 32 sacks. So certainly can't put all the blame on Carson. I mean, when you're getting hit, what is that, 4 times a game? Well, sacked 4 times a game. Hit more, times are tough for you. Now, the Eagles' best wide receiver this season is some guy named Travis Fulgham. Their second best receiver was a college quarterback who goes by the name of Greg Ward. Probably never heard of him. And this Eagles rushing attack is gaining just 81 yards a game on the ground when they travel as well. So Dougie Peterson really loves to air it out away from the link. Throws a lot of times and does not establish the run game. But anyway, despite winning their last 7 straight head-to-head meetings with the Giants, the Eagles successfully covered the point spread in just 2 of those victories. So the Eagles might end up winning it, but I don't think they're going to cover that number here. Now, total-wise, Philadelphia saw 2 out of their last 3 road games get over the posted number. 7 out of their last 10 head-to-head meetings with the Giants got over the line as well. Meanwhile, the Giants on the other side saw their last 2 straight get over the posted total themselves. I'm going to lean toward another underdog in this one. Give me the underdog New York Giants +4 and the over 44.5 in that ball game. All right, next matchup, football team, Lions, 1 p.m. Eastern start time. The Lions are the 4-point favorite at home, totals 46.5. The Washington football team's +170 for a straight-up win. And as bad as they've been on the season, the football team's covered 2 out of their last 3 ball games, 3-2 against the number in their last 5. So these guys do have the ability to cover. The football team ranks in the top 5 in the league in fewest yards allowed per play, top 3 in pass defense. Now this Washington D has 27 sacks thus far in the season, along with 8 interceptions. Cornerback Kendall Fuller has 4 picks on the season, along with 5 PBUs. Defensive end Montez Sweat has 5 sacks on the year himself, 9 TFLs and 2 forced fumbles. And of course, linebacker Jonathan Bostic currently has 59 total tackles on the season, pair of sacks, and a trio of tackles for loss. Now, the football team is in the top 3 in fewest third-quarter points allowed, top 5 in fewest fourth-quarter points allowed. So these guys certainly making great adjustments at halftime, not giving up a whole lot of second-half points this year. Now, Inman and Christian are both questionable for this Sunday's game. Meanwhile, Stafford, Dahl, Agnew, and Walker all may not play for Detroit, so keep an eye on them. But speaking of the Lions, they're on a 2-game losing streak. 75 total points they gave up in those 2 losses. Now, the Lions have failed to cover the number in 3 out of their last 5, and they've yet to cover the number at Ford Field this season. And as a matter of fact, the Lions are 0-3 straight up on their home turf this year as well. Now, the Lions are amongst the top 3 in the NFL in most points allowed at home. They're also in the top 3 in most rush yards allowed at home as well. Detroit, sorry, my contacts are killing me today. But anyway, Detroit's giving up 34 points a game at Ford Field, nearly 150 yards a game on the ground. They're giving up at home. Now, Detroit's lost 11 out of their last 13 against the NFC. Certainly having some troubles over the past couple of seasons against the NFC, and they're on a 7-game losing streak at Ford Field. Now, total-wise, the Lions, the last 2 straight, both got over the posted number. They're 3-0 to the over on their home field. Meanwhile, Washington on the other side saw 3 out of their last 6 get over the total themselves. That's surprising considering they don't score a whole lot of points. But I'm going to lean toward another underdog. Give me the underdog Washington football team +4 and the over 46.5 in that contest. And with that, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Jags Packers, 1 p.m. East. The Green Bay Packers are -13, totals 50.5. The Jacksonville Jaguars are +$6 for an upset victory. Now, the Jags are on a 7-game losing streak. They failed to cover the point spread in 5 out of their last 6 as well. The Jags are in the bottom 10 in rushing, bottom 10 in scoring. Running back James Robinson is gaining less than 73 yards per contest on the ground. The Jags are also gaining less than 99 yards a game on the ground as well, not even in triple digits with regard to rushing. Meanwhile, defensively, the Jags are giving up 34 points a game when they travel and nearly 310 yards a game through the air on the road as well. They rank in the top 3 in the league in most top 3 in the league in most yards allowed per contest, top 3 in most first quarter points allowed as well. Now the Jaguars they've yet to win a ball game on the road this season, just 1-3 against the number in those contests. Minshew's out. Allen, Chenault, and Luton are questionable. Meanwhile, for the Packers, Wagner, Bakhtiari, Redmond, King, both Williams, Martin, and Scott are all questionable for Green Bay, so keep an eye on them. Having said that, though, the Pack is coming fresh off a solid bounce-back game against San Francisco. They took care of the Niners by the final of 34-17. Offense was rolling, scoring points again. The Packers are 6-2 straight up overall for the season, 75% against the number in those contests. Green Bay's in the top 3 in the league in scoring, top 10 in passing. And, of course, Aaron Rodgers, he's completing nearly 70% of his passes on the season, which is remarkable because he throws in such tight windows, really low percentage throws, just back shoulders to the corner, to the pylon, to the hash mark. I mean, just really great passes. Over 2,200 yards and 24 TDs he's thrown for already. Devontae Adams, 675 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. He missed 2 games, by the way. Of course, big tight end Robert Tonyan, 24 catches, 314, 5 scores himself. The Green Bay offense is in the top 3 in the league in yards per play at home, top 5 in home rushing. Aaron Jones is averaging 5 yards a carry and scored 5 times in 6 games. Remember, he's been banged up. He's missed some action. The Packers rushed for 127 yards per contest. Meanwhile, defensively, Green Bay's ranking in the top 10 in fewest points allowed at home, top 5 in home pass defense. Zadarius Smith has 7 sacks on the year, 10 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles. Chris Barnes also has 50 tackles along with 3.5 tackles for loss as well. Green Bay's won 7 out of their last 8 at Lambeau. And when it comes to the total, the Pack's 2-0 to the over in their last couple of games, 63% to the over overall for the season. The Jags, on the other side, saw their last 2 get over the line themselves, 3-1 to the over when they travel. Give me the Green Bay Packers minus 13 and the over 50.5 in that ball game. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube for part 1, the early games. And like I said earlier, we're going to do the part 2 video, the later games, later in the week, maybe as early as even tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. But anyway, gotta thank you guys for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Wednesday to you, happy hump day to you, and I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.